And at the end of the day, all the client cares about, did you save any money? But if you told them, no, I created a system in your back office that saves you 75 grand a year, that gets them thinking. Then you get all the other stuff. Now we got good systems. Now let's do some good tax planning. Let's make some smart moves. So I want to use the things I've learned over the last 3-4 years and start doing more of that work to get people, because people's systems are terrible. I see people all the time that we could help them, save them money, save them time. And then from that comes, okay, why don't you guys help us with the accounting? Why don't you guys help us with the payroll? Why don't you do some tax planning? Why don't we buy tax credits? All kind of different things come from that. I want to get more of that. And it fits the skill set we have.
I think you are the voice of the Make It Count movement.
Yeah.
It's going to be hashtag Make It Count. Marcus is leading the chart. Oh, for real. I'm serious. I love it. You're a fantastically busy man. I'm going to start replacing the word fuck with fantastic. Sometimes it's not going to work.
Old habits die hard, dude.
Yeah, depending on what we're talking about, I don't know if fantastic will work, but let's just cut to the chase and say that we were supposed to do a podcast together. And our only disagreement was, are we going to say fuck or fantastic? And then I'm talking to Ackerman and he says, dude, I will not do a podcast if we can't curse. And he didn't know we had this conversation.
It's true.
That's so funny.
It's the only point that both of y'all made, and I didn't care either way. I was just, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to help myself.
Honestly, Marcus, you made the right move, because doing a podcast with Scott is the fucking worst.
I love it.
First of all, you don't know where he stops talking, and you should start. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
What's the second thing? I'd love to know the second thing if that's the first one.
Yeah, I don't know what the second thing is. The first one, use see rule number 1 on that.
Forget everything.
That's number 2.
Forget everything. As our listeners might or might not know, the Make It Count podcast really is legit, and I think it's doing a kick-ass job. And my wife is calling me. Let me pause, and you can.
Oh, finally muted. Okay. We'll just get started. Got that devilish look. Okay, hopefully Scott won't interrupt us too much.
I just want to say, tonight, let's take our professor hat off. We're not going to be teaching. Let's just forget everything we know. Forget everything we already know.
Marcus is going to teach us.
That's what I mean.
Teacher Marcus.
I'm talking to us right now.
I'm talking to yourself.
I have 2 personas in here, so I'm talking us when I say us. Yeah. So that was my inner monologue, and now we're going to make it count. I want to hear, I don't want to start with total control accounting, but I want to end there, and I want to talk about that, and I just want to ease our way into it, because I think it's fantastic.
Are you gonna do an intro?
We don't have intros here. We just get right to it. Marcus Mire.
That's right.
Most of you would have thought Mire. It's Mire. Marcus Mire.
I'm still gonna call him Mire, because honestly, that's too much for me to know. I'm sorry. It's just Marcus to me.
Yeah, he's Eminem. He's Eminem.
Eminem.
Let's just start with Marcus. Tell us your story. Tell us why. I want to know why.
Why don't you tell us how you got into accounting?
All right. How did I get? So I get an interesting story. So I was never knew any accountants, knew anything about it. Went to LSU, which is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I was going to be a sportscaster. I was in broadcast journalism. I was working for what it was called Tiger TV, or the campus television station. I would shoot videos, lay the voiceover. I was doing all that. And I had to have I forget if I had to have a minor or I just wanted one, but I had a business minor. And I took an accounting class, and the light bulb went off for me. I'm looking at everybody, and they're not getting it. And y'all don't get this. This just made perfect sense to me. And from that point on, I remember going to either talk to my parents or girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and I think I want to do this accounting thing. I always liked business. I was always entrepreneurial. Always from growing up, I'd got in the stock market early with my dad and that kind of stuff. So I had those business leanings, but I remember thinking, I can do sports stuff as a hobby. I don't have to make it my business. And if you're going to go into sportscasting, it's a grind. You've got to go take a entry-level weekday anchor position in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or wherever the first job was open, working for 30 grand and doing everything. I could probably make it better if I go in the business world, and accounting just made sense. So that was how I got into accounting. Shortly after that, got an internship with a local CPA, and that
Where
was
did
what
you-
started me off that
When she
direction.
was your girlfriend, you said you had talked to her. You said, "I think I'm going into accounting." What was her reaction to that?
Probably she had to take, I think she took that same class or one of them. And look, I don't get this stuff. Good for you, because my wife's creative. She was in advertising and branding, so we think totally differently on that kind of stuff.
Tell me this: did she help with the Mire Group branding?
So she hasn't helped with creating that, but she's the one who's more systematically behind the content production. So she handles all the infographics, all of the stuff we're doing in terms of anything we post, she posts, any graphics we make. The guy who does my podcast, Tyler Warner, really good friend of mine, is the one he actually did the logo. I know we're jumping ahead here. He's producing the podcast and hosting it. The combination of all three of us can do everything, but Stephanie, my wife, handles the ongoing day-to-day production of content, and then Tyler did the brand and the podcast and website.
No, I'm going to pull us back. I took us off track down the rabbit hole, but now we're going to go back to starting with the CPA, though. I just wanted to bring back the whole, you asked your wife, I wanted to know how she responded.
Right.
Yeah.
So where'd you work out of school?
I did an internship at Deloitte, actually, in Houston for the summer after I graduated. It was literally what you would think of an internship, where I think I was helping them go paperless, which means I was taking the old files, popping the staples off, and scanning the documents. I literally did
Oh,
that.
God, I remember those days. I remember
summer.
being in a room full of documents and doing that with a banker's box.
That was the summer of 2004. So I did that, and then I went back to LSU to get the master's and realized I needed, I don't know, 20 hours, something like that, or 15, whatever it was. After the first semester of the master's program, look, I'm done with school. I need to get work and do something. So I took a job back home where I'm from, which is in Lafayette, about 50 miles west of Baton Rouge, about 2 hours from New Orleans, and got a job back home, and then did 7 hours here at a local university. This is like, I needed 7 hours. I got exactly 7 hours to get to the 150, and did that so I could sit for the CPA exam.
And then is that the firm you worked your way up to partner with?
No, so I worked there, let's see, I started there at 23, and by the time I was 28, I started to build up a little client base. I knew the guy I was working for, who I would consider a mentor, who's great, taught me a ton. We were never going to be partners. I just have a different philosophy on how to do things. I was more entrepreneurial. He was a CPA, by the book, real conservative, not what I would call wanting to build a business, more or less just wanted to be a technician. So I saw the writing on the wall. So what's funny is I went to him and I said, look, I want to go out on my own, but you still need me. I'm your lead person here. He said, we worked out a deal where I basically kept my office. I went from being a W-2 employee to I'll just contract for a fixed hourly rate on the big clients you have. I'll work on them. I'll build my practice. And he let me start my practice in his office, which is unheard of. And I think just because we had a good relationship, he knew that ultimately I wasn't going to be there. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then I left. From there, had a little small practice, me and an assistant, for about a year and a half. And that's when I merged with PRM, which is the firm I was a partner in before I started Mire Group. They were looking for somebody to buy out one of their older partners. That's when I joined PRM, basically merged my practice with them to become a partner of that. I was 31 at the time.
So what went into the decision for you to go in with those other people, with this firm? Why'd you do it?
Yeah, I just was looking for more kind of resources. At that point, I was looking to join up with some people that had a staff where I could start to offload a lot of my work to my staff and try to grow and go out, do a little more business development, and just be aligned with some people who had some more experience. So I had that, plus they were offering me, which came to fruition, and I still have a bunch of these clients, the opportunity to buy out one of the other partners and get his client base. So that was a real draw.
You've always been, when you merged over, you were doing your own thing. You did your own firm, and then, so merging over, how were the philosophies? Did you guys mesh well at first?
Not really. I think it was more for the resources and an idea that I was going to take over that practice.
This is what I deal with, Marcus. I swear to the same point, though, which is like you eventually left. And I think a lot of people. It's interesting how you've was with one guy and then on your own and then here. And a big issue that a lot of firm people have is they don't agree with their partners. And you decided to now go out on your own. What was the ultimate decision? Why did you not try and make it work with those guys?
Yeah, I would say it was just a philosophy difference. We had a different philosophy on most things, and we still were operating like a bunch of sole proprietors, just sharing resources. Where I was trying to build a consensus around how we get the work done, the type of clients we get, how we do things, common billing. They really weren't that interested in that. Or it wasn't, we just had so many competing desires. And this group of some older partners, and then me and another younger one. And so eventually it was, look, I want to go full force at the vision I have. I've tried to implement this vision. If anybody at this firm knows where the future is going, it's me. I'm at least plugged into what's going on, how we all talk, and knowing guys like you from across the country. I'd gotten to get a taste of that with all the cloud stuff I was doing.
I think that gave you a lot of confidence too.
What's that?
I feel like it gave you a lot of confidence, and that's what you needed to leave. Maybe financial security, but I feel like it gave you the confidence to be like, I got this.
Yeah,
I got this.
And it wasn't never that I obviously could do the work, had the clients. But it was more or less just man, I got to go start this thing on my own. But to the same point about the fact that I know cloud and all that, literally, we turned the firm on. We left on a Friday, and Monday we worked.
I don't know. I'm gonna call bullshit on that because I think if you stay with them and you say you're sharing resources, that's for financial security. The whole security. You're not confident enough to go out on your own if you're sharing, and then you finally got. That's why you left. I feel like you always wanted to push your vision, and you did make changes and with all these shared resources, but you still felt held back.
I knew we were never going to adopt all the things I wanted to do, and that was frustrating because honestly, I felt like I had a better way. So look, I think this is the way we should go. You guys don't really agree with that, and that's okay. I need to go now.
And maybe it's not a better way. Maybe it's just a different way. Maybe their way works for them, but it's not working for you.
Correct.
So when you decide to go out on your own, it's cool because you blank slate. Of how you want to start this firm. So what were the key big decisions you made starting? This is what I definitely want. Maybe it's software.
August 1st, 2020, we started. It was me and 3 from the old firm came with me and started Mire Group. The first thing I knew I wanted to do was I knew we were going to be all cloud. I knew the project management I wanted to use, and I wanted to give a great client experience with technology. That's talking to you guys, that's a given, but it was, for me, I was already trying to do that, but I couldn't quite get everything I wanted implemented.
So what do you think a good tax experience is for a client?
I think for one thing, it's the ability to work year round. And so a lot of people think even on their 1040, that's just a year-end deal, drop the documents off. You've got a place to upload your information and to communicate in a seamless way with your advisor. You have a life event, something happens because you're working with us often, that you just drop that information in team. And for us, it's teamwork. Drop that information in teamwork. You don't have to remember to give that information at year end. That's the first thing. Second thing would be that what the pricing is, and that there's opportunities to do other things if you value them. For us, that is a mid-year meeting and a summer meeting. So those are value added services that you can add on and you get to choose them. So I think a great experience is being able to do everything virtually. That's the first thing, if you want to, and have everything you need. All your tax returns historically are stored securely for you. So if you ever need them, so you've got access to your information whenever you need it. You don't have to call me and say, hey, email me. A lot of people email me my tax return. I say, look, man, it's already, just get the Teamwork app. It's already there. The ability to work with us year round, whether that's sending us documents or just keeping us up to date through Teamwork about what's going on. And then the ability to know what you're going to pay for the most part, and the opportunity for advisory and extra services to help you plan better.
So how did you go about changing your clients over to this model?
Look, guys, we need to send out proposals through Practice Ignition. We need to do 3-tier proposals. And we didn't do it for every client, because certain clients, we had a price level where the certain people over a certain price level, their return varies enough to where we probably could do that, but let's wait till the next year. We'll fix price theirs. But for let's call it 60 to 70% of our clients, they got a 3-tier proposal. And we just said, this is the way we're doing things. And we lost a few clients, but I don't know, 3%.
Do you feel like you gained a sense of respect though for a lot of them too? Because that's really transparent to go from one way to another in 1 year. I feel like the ones that stay tend to really respect that.
They loved it. And a buddy of mine gave me a Google review today, and he said one of the things he said he liked was the ability for us to handle payment for him. So when we did that meeting, we came up with a clear set of ways we were going to do a tax return from start to finish, the communication before, during, and after. I think to certain people it was new. First of all, it was new. They had to do everything digitally. We sent out the engagement digitally. The engagement had a video with me talking over Google Slides about how tax season was going to go down, all the tools we were using. So that was different. And some people would call, Marcus, I really don't want to watch this video. Look, man, watch it or not, but at least sign the engagement letter, pick your proposal. We haven't had much pushback. And in fact, everybody we did that with had a price increase. So whatever your tax return was before, it was, let's call it 20% more, but we gave more value in that, coupled with the technology. And then one thing we added was a video overview of the tax return at the end. And
Oh wow,
clients are loving those.
I like that. Do that
So
on-
explain the video overview of the tax return.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so basically what we do is we just use Loom, and we take we export their tax return with all the fields masked, and then we redact it. So it's in my
For those
mask.
that don't know, Loom is just a
I
recording.
don't know what Loom is.
What's
you know
that?
what Loom is? Oh,
Yeah.
Everybody knows what Loom is? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, you do a screen capture with your voice over it and your camera on you if you want. But we just do a quick. Most people, it's probably 4 to 7 minutes, and all we do is we hit the high points. We go through, and so basically what it does is when I'm doing the final review of a tax return, I'm doing both. So I'm looking high level, and I'm also looking at what I'm going to talk about in the video. I do both at the same time, and then we just go hit the high points. What do you owe? What do you owe money, get back money, things you could have done differently. Explain certain concepts that you probably don't understand. Try to give you a layman's term understanding of those concepts. What are some next steps you can take? And that's pretty much it. And the reviews we're getting from those are awesome. People just basically saying, look, I've talked to you on the phone about my tax return, but never have had this where I can refer back to it. I can look at the forms with you, because most people are visual. You start explaining QBI deduction on the phone, that just doesn't resonate as well. So,
Which is why Ackerman still does it in person.
yeah.
No, I
It's
like
like
it.
it's created some other challenges because it puts you at the end of the bottleneck for sure. So we knew that. We knew myself and Quentin, who's my tax manager, and he's building a practice too. He's our lead guy. We already knew that we were going to be at the end of this bottleneck, but we knew it was a short-term deal. We said, let's see all the pain points of this process for 2020 season, and then start to figure out how we can delegate and do a lot of those things. But the videos have gone better than we ever thought. And I will tell you, it's changed my opinion on doing 1040s, because when we price them and we feel like we're adding value, I feel like I want to do more of them. Whereas I came into Mire Group thinking I was going to try to shed as many 1040s as I could to just work with my business clients and not to say just work with them, probably not really look for many more new individual clients.
That's interesting to hear.
So when you're doing a tax return, and so I guess the process is that they send you their documents digitally, or they drop them off at your office, or they get them
Right.
to you somehow.
Either way.
So if you have a question, talk about the whole process of the tax.
Is this part of total control, or have we not got into that
No,
yet? 'Cause
that's
I'm excited to get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, tax return, we don't start until we get the engagement letter signed. So first thing, you sign the engagement letter digitally through Practice Edition, pick your package, and put your billing information. So we made our Practice Edition packages where you can't complete them until you put your billing in, because we don't want to be in the business of receivables and tracking down and billing. So that's been great for us. Once that's done, we get your engagement letter in. We do two things. We send you, and Scott actually told me this, we send you an UltraTax checklist. So not a full organizer, just the checklist of all the documents. It's a comparison of the prior year. It just says, here's all the documents you gave us last year. And we think that's pretty helpful. We send that through a teamwork message. So in teamwork, you can create message threads. We just create a new thread called 2020 Tax. The first message in that thread is basically this: hey, you signed your engagement letter, thanks. Here are the next steps. Here's a questionnaire, here's a checklist of the documents you provided last year. I have a Loom video of me walking through that checklist and what it looks like, how you should use it. Then the next number 2, we use Zero Ask. We use Zero Ask this year for our questionnaires, a digital questionnaire. And then next up, you should be expecting a Zero Ask questionnaire. Here's a Loom video on how to do that. And I walk through everything from signing up for Zero. If you don't have an account, what does the email look like when it hits your inbox, all that. And then the third item is, and here's a link to upload your documents. And it's just the URL for their files section in Teamwork. And so that kind of kicks off the process, and we start going from there.
And so someone then, how do you assign it out to your team members?
Yeah,
that's core processes at its finest. I'm sorry, I have to acknowledge that. That is core process at its finest. To be able to recite, I love it. Congratulations,
dude. We took a 4-hour day. Like I said, on that day, my birthday, we went to lunch, and then we literally went to the public library, and they had a conference room there. And we said,
the dividends that day paid you, having those Loom videos and the clients, all the questions that they normally would ask, you have just totally eliminated that. You have created time. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the way we assign them, we're a small team. It's myself, Quentin, John, Stephanie, and then we have an intern. So John is our staff accountant, who's great. He's exceeded every expectation I have for first-year staff person. So he gets most of the tax returns. So most of the 1040s that come in, they're going to him anyway. So for now, it's not an issue of juggling workload, which will come with its own set of problems down the road. But so, yeah, to answer your question, most returns that come in, they're being assigned to John. It's just, I have a few, Quentin has a few, but we don't prep that many. But we do juggle workload with each other. So once it gets assigned to John, he's, again, because you guys know, using Carbon, I'm sure, you got full visibility on the thread, the messaging. And that's one thing our team has said they love, is the full visibility of end-to-end communication with the client. So
transparency. Yep.
Yeah. The first message in the thread is always that message I just reeled off to you about Loom video, the questionnaire, the checklist, and the files. And the last message is always Stephanie, who's our operations manager, her saying, "We filed your tax return, and we're now drafting the money based on the package you chose. Thanks." And then everything in between is a communication with the client.
That's great. That seems very effective. That seems like you don't need an office. Why do you have an office?
I love being at the office. I'm
Fair
in the
enough.
house I'm renovating right now. I'm adding an office. I'm adding like a nice home office, and I think I'm going to work from there more. But I love our team. I like the ideas that come. I couldn't be a work from home guy.
I thought I did too until I saw the light.
So what do you think is your role? It sounds like you've delegated most of the preparation stuff.
Yep.
In a small firm, which is great. So how do you spend most of your time? What do you see your role as?
I would tell you that's the biggest thing I struggle with right now, is trying to figure out where I fit in this equation, which is a good thing. I would say right now my role is high level review. So I do final review on every tax return that I've just seen dividends when I've done and put my foot down on content marketing, which I found to be pretty decent at. I like doing videos. I have no problem with that. I like doing the podcast. So my day is always trying to figure out how much of that to do, and then how much billable work. It's probably 70% production, I would guess, 50 to 70% production during tax season. During a normal week, probably half or less. And then just more or less leading vision, new clients, that sort of thing.
And what other services do you offer other than tax?
Yeah, so we do what I call it back office services. So we have clients where we handle everything from all their accounting, payroll. That's for the most part what we call our monthly bundle services, where we handle all those back office services and then meet with the clients, whether that's monthly or quarterly. We also consult on software and system setup.
What do you think the biggest thing that you're missing in the firm right now is?
Well, that's a good question. It depends where we go with this, because I have some different vision on where I want to bring our firm. But if we go down the track I think what we're going to be missing is somebody super high level tax. And what I mean by that is we're good. Obviously, we know our stuff, but I don't think down the road, I for sure don't want to be a high level tax hired gun.
Why are you not already? I would consider you a high level tax person.
Yeah, I mean,
what is a high level tax person?
Yeah, I guess what my point is somebody that,
Why would your people here now not be high-level tax people by the time?
and you got to remember, I guess what I mean by that is people who want to do that all day. I need somebody who, let give you an example. On the really complicated partnership issues, I know them and I can handle them,
Okay.
but that's not something I want to spend my time doing every day. And I could get somebody that would probably be just as good as me, if not better, that wants to even get better at that. You know what I mean? So to handle our clients who are going through mergers or selling, and again, it's not that we can't do that, because we had a client just the other day with a pretty complicated 754 step up and 743 basis adjustment. Like, we can handle it, but I don't think it's something that down the road, that's what I'm really interested in. Now, I want that available at my disposal. And I want somebody here when I go in a meeting and say, look, if you come with that, Jeff right here, he's got you. And so while I think we can do it and we are doing it, I think we're going in a direction, especially Quentin and I, and the practices we're building, we're becoming more generalists in that regard.
So where do you see the firm going in 5 years?
I'm hoping we're doing more stuff like I saw. Do y'all follow Nicole McKenzie on LinkedIn? Somebody's basically helped somebody reinvent their whole back office, their whole system, save the money, was able to cut somebody, change their process.
So you want to be more of CFO side?
Be more on the because we have always had tax expertise. We did this from a different approach. You see a lot of these cloud firms like Acuity, CFO, accounting, bookkeeping, and then added tax. We're going the other way. So we always did tax. That's my background. But then I got into cloud and software, and I love that stuff from the problem-solving perspective. And our team even admitted, I put Nicole's LinkedIn message up on our screen in our last staff meeting yesterday, and I said, guys, we have all the capabilities to do this, which is basically consulting on efficiencies. And I told them, I said, look,
That's so awesome, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, I told them, I said, look, we're building, you got to remember, if you're going to go to somebody and pitch them solutions and ideas, you have to, at least as your business, have to have your act together. And so while we're pretty new, I think from an internal standpoint, we have our act together from efficiency and software. So we know this stuff. So who's going to consult with those clients other than a firm like ours? The other CPA firms are going to charge them. They don't know what they're going to charge them. They're going to charge them by the hour. They don't know cloud, most of them. So I think we're poised in our area and wherever to do a lot of that work. And we like that work. So to answer your question, I want to get more into that. You can value bill. It's the clients love that stuff because you know this. You do the tax return and you do it professionally and you do it accurately. And at the end of the day, all the client cares about, did you save any money? But if you told them, no, I created a system in your back office that saves you 75 grand a year, that gets them thinking. Then you get all the other stuff. Now we got good systems. Now let's do some good tax planning. Let's make some smart moves. So I want to use the things I've learned over the last 3-4 years and start doing more of that work to get people, because people's systems are terrible. I deal with people. I see people all the time that we could help them, save them money, save them time. And then from that comes, okay, why don't you guys help us with the accounting? Why don't you guys help us with the payroll? Why don't you do some tax planning? Why don't we buy tax credits? All kind of different things come from that. So I want to get more of that. And it fits the skill set we have.
I love it.
So how are you going to hire for that? So some of my fears in there, when you go from tax, you're doing very high margin work now. So you're used to that. When you start going into advisory, I feel like if you're not doing it all yourself, you're going to need to be hiring people in a much higher salary range. So are you going to be diving into it like that? And do you already, how do you feel like you have a handle on how you're going to tackle it, I guess?
I don't. I think we can do a lot of it with the team we have here. John, he's taken the cloud. He's just second nature and loves it, and he got almost a data analytics background just from his own interest. And so I think we can do a lot of it in-house. But yeah, I think that a lot of it is not, what I'm talking about are not things that a first-year person couldn't do with good processes.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we go into a business and we look and we say, okay, everybody can see here, they're invoicing on spreadsheets, they're doing their payroll in one program, and they're doing their accounting in one. I think even a first-year staff person can go, okay, very big picture idea. We're going to put you on 0, step 1. We're going to put you on Gusto, step 2. And we know how, and we being that staff person can
So
do
let's
all
back
that.
up. For somebody
Yep.
listening, there's a lot of people that are doing this that are probably not even valuing it or charging for it. You're talking about doing it and actually making money and charging what you should be to
Yeah.
do things like that. A lot of people are just happy to get a new client, and then they're like, yeah, you should do this and this, and then we'll be billing you this much per month.
Yeah, no, I would tell you, Zach Call told me that. You'll notice a common theme. I'm learning from all y'all. I hear what y'all are doing, and I'm like, Ackerman's told me some good stuff when we were talking last time in Nashville about hiring people, and so I take a little bit of that. But one thing Zach said, I think is spot on. He said you have to get setup fees, which is almost crazy that you wouldn't. Because to your point, Scott, I think accountants tend to not have the confidence to say they get the new client, but the client needs $5,000 of fixing. If you're going to work with us and we think it's desirable to work with us, so we have to believe that first. We have to believe that to come to us, not in an arrogant way or cocky way, but we're going to do a better service than what you're getting.
Not arrogant. It's not cocky. You have to be confident that you are going to be able to help them.
Yeah. And if you're going to do that, we have to do these things and charge you for them to set the stage to work for us. And once I kind of got that thought in my mind, and Zach kind of told me, he said, look, man, it also gets the client with skin in the game from day one. If they're willing to pay you $5,000 to convert them, get them set up on some best practices and help them with some processes.
And pay that shit up front.
And pay it up front. Yeah.
Yep. Because they got the money in the bank.
That's right.
So what's the purpose of the podcast?
Man,
why do the podcast?
It's funny because I'm thinking about this the other day. Tyler sent me, we basically worked out a flat rate, Tyler being the guy that produces the podcast and hosts it, what he's going to charge me. And I started thinking to myself, should I do this weekly? Should I not take what I'm spending on the podcast and just reposition it until Facebook ads or something else or whatever? And I said, I think that I'll back up. Obviously I'm doing your podcast, so I like to talk. And I've always just kind of thought nobody's doing a podcast, at least I've seen. I'm sure there's somebody doing it, geared on the accounting side toward the clients. So you guys are doing a podcast, all the ones we listen to, they're more geared for us. But I never thought there was one from an accounting and tax, personal
like
finance.
Tech forward though, you're very relatable, and people could listen to you and say, "Oh, that's an accountant that's actually okay." That's not an accountant talking. They really wouldn't think that they would think you're more of an entrepreneur. You're the business type. You're a podcaster. Yeah. You're not an accountant too. No shit, this guy's not also a CPA.
Yeah, and that's what I was hoping that would come across as that. No, I want to be more like a business advisor, help you, but I want to educate people around these concepts. And most people just don't understand because the podcasts for accounting and tax are geared toward accountants and tax people. So I thought, okay, if we could do that, and I've been wanting to do it for a good year now. And I told Tyler, I said, look, we're starting it. We were in a meeting. I said, in 2 weeks, we're starting this podcast. I don't know what it's going to be called. I don't know what we're talking about, but you have to just go. You figure it out. You make mistakes. I said, we have to just start it. And then 2 days before, I called him. I said, dude, why don't you?
I think we lit the match. We fired you up so you could get started.
That's right. I had
to. We're still building our. What does Ackerman say? He says we're building something out of marble.
Y'all are MVP right now, right?
Yeah, we're chiseling. Yeah.
So I said we have to do it. But 2 days before, I called him. I said, why don't you host it? I said, I don't know. I was going to do this kind of news-driven updates, and I said nobody wants to just sit and listen to me talk without a banter. So I said, why don't you host it? You understand cloud. He's a web guy. You're on Xero, but you're also the guy who came from, you couldn't get your act together financially. And he would tell you this, always last minute. And now he's got his stuff together. So you can speak to some of the common questions and wait, hold on a second, explain that type stuff. So I thought he would be great, and it's worked out. So we're going to keep doing it as long as we can. Trying always from the angle of solving a problem and making things understandable from the client perspective.
That was my note, is that you have a good co-host because he's he'll stop you if you're talking too much accountant talk, and he makes it very relatable. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he's good.
That's good. See, we can get into an echo chamber in here and then feel like everybody knows what we're talking about, but realize that a lot of the terms or stuff that we use is not. So right. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
So what are your firm goals monetarily?
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's about the money now.
I'm trying to think of this. revenue dollar wise, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Revenue
I mean,
per person. What?
I don't. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it that way. I know. I think about it like this: if we get to, we're not there. If we get to $1 million in revenue, I don't think it's going to take us that much more in personnel. Probably call it 1.5 people. But I think the more I want it, that's my first goal. So my first goal is I want to get to $1 million in revenue. We're not there yet, but I think I think as we get there, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what I mean by that is I've already seen it. The more revenue I'm able to slide back a little. The more the team's taking on, I slide back a little bit more, and then to drive the charge for more revenue. So again, back to the question.
You're doing it smart. You're doing it smart though. See, I did it very stupid, but that's so you actually see the vision and you see that journey and those steps.
I don't know, dude. I reference you a lot of times. I'm like, dude, but from the perspective of you got to know who you're going after. And if they don't fit your model, you got to get rid of them and try to get new ones. Yeah, I think as we grow, I'll be able to do more and more to make us grow, which will compound itself. So that's the first goal, $1 million in revenue, which I think is attainable.
So what's the timeline?
Why $1 million in revenue? Is that just what? Why $1 million in revenue?
I hadn't even thought about it. I think it's just it sounds good. It's a good round number. If you're really pushing,
does that make you? I think it feels like to me, it's a confidence level thing. I got this now. I've hit this mark.
Right.
Now I feel like I've got some kind of pedigree almost. I feel that's attaining your CPA. These are the milestones we try to achieve. And that's how we've always been driven in life anyway. And I've said this before, you got to get the good grades in high school to get into the good college, and you got to get good grades in college to get that good first job so you can get to that next job so you can start your own company so that you can build it to $1 million. But then what?
I think so some next goals. I'm looking right now. That's on the monetary side. I'm looking right now at a couple pieces of land to build my own building. I've always wanted that. So we built out a really cool space. Yeah. So I want to do that.
Well, interesting. Okay. So when you're building this office, how are you going to design it? What's some things that you really want in there for a modern firm that you think an office should have?
Oh, that's cool.
Pool table, of course.
Okay.
A pool table. Okay.
Is it going to be everything around the pool? Is it going to be pool table in the middle with skylights and everything around it?
It's funny. The other day I had this slide I looked at.
And that'll turn into a pool too. The table moves out and there's a pool underneath it.
It could be. I have no clue yet. What is it going to look like? It's going to look like what we did here. Y'all can't see it, but I don't know anybody. We basically, when I got this office, you can't see it, but now we overlook a river, and it's a really cool spot. That's basically it. A super modern. I wanted people to think when they came in here, younger, tech forward kind of firm. You weren't going in just an office building with.
The office matches you, and I'm being dead serious.
Yeah.
The office matches your color tone that you wear, the color tone that you've got. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and your logo does too. Yeah.
I get the colors, but what about the actual? Are you going to do cubes? Are you going to do an office?
Yeah. I was going to get that. Yeah. Space? Yeah. So what we're going to hold on a second. What is going on with this?
Yeah, I think we're talking about the functionality of the office.
Right.
Really. Not the feng shui.
Modern,
not the feng shui, but the functionality.
Because I think a lot of people now are rethinking their office and what they need, and you're basically starting with a clean slate. So I'm interested to know what you are thinking.
I still like individual offices. And what we do, we're distracted enough. I'm distracted enough. I'm the worst one here. I think people need the ability to shut their door. That's a thing around here. We say, look, if you're working and you're grinding hard and you're thinking, shut the door, go do not disturb mode. I think the pendulum's going to swing back. Scott knows Cal Newport. He would argue the same exact point. Open office space is just a ton of distractions all day long. We already get enough distractions because everything we're doing, email and chat, and so we're going to definitely have offices. Nothing crazy. Our difference will be the more design and look. I'm going to build a metal building office.
Cool.
But other than that, it's going to be pretty standard from a office's perspective. Yeah, conference room.
Do you feel like your people could either be at your office or be at home and be just as effective? That's the question.
Yeah.
Are you going to require your team to come to the office?
No, they don't. They're not required. Everybody just likes coming to the office.
That's great. I love that because then if a disaster happens and you're stuck in Mexico, everybody just work from home or work at do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes that COVID happened so you couldn't come back to the U.S.?
Do I think?
Yeah, they sent COVID, your team, so you could stay in Mexico.
Oh, it starts to make sense now.
It didn't start in Wuhan with the bat. It started
No.
in Raleigh with the accounting firm.
With the accounting team, they wanted to get rid of Scott for.
We figured it out.
They did. You know
Problem
what?
solved.
You know what?
But-
I came back a different person.
No, but I really like.
Back a different
I
person.
like what you said though, was that you don't want to require people to come to the office, but they want to come.
Yeah.
So you've created some sort of reason for them to come and socialize.
Yeah, I think we all say this. We get along. We keep saying the next person we hire, we have to go slow with it because we came from the same place, so we all wanted to come together. We get along great. The next person has to really fit in to that point because we all like coming here. Because I keep telling them, okay, when I finish my house, I'm probably going to work from home a little bit. But I say that I think I will do maybe one day a week just to really focus. But I like coming. I like all the people. Ideas come up. So I think people know that any day of the week they want to stay home, they can. Shoot, I give them allowance in their pay for home internet. So I'm just saying.
You're making me rethink getting rid of my office. I have my office cleared out. Now I can put a pool table in there and just make it a cool hangout place. And then if you want to work there, it's a couple of offices, not too many.
Right.
And so out of the 10 people that live around here, if they want to get out of their house because kids or whatever reason, they get a place to go. I might rethink that.
I don't know. What about you? Do most of your people come to the office every day?
I think it's very similar to your situation. And what I think is cool is when you do hire someone, and if you've created the right culture, they just start and then just meld in and they all start hanging out together. And
Yeah.
I love to see people hanging out in the break room or going to dinner together. Our interns have just started going to dinner once a month. And they're 18, 19 years old, and that's pretty cool, unbeknownst to me or anybody else. So I think that just designing the office around there, we have the same office. Everyone has their own office, and then we've had some share spaces where people can hang out.
I do think I will take one concept in of the whole corporate big office spot with these huddle rooms. So we're going to have a conference room. I want to have a really cool conference room and all that. But I do think I'm going to have one little space that'll probably be, I don't even know if it'll be where you could even sit. It might be stand-up desk on the wall and a TV, and it's just a whiteboard. And I haven't even mentioned I want a media room. So I want a room with a sound.
You need one, yeah, because that would be
green screen, that sort of thing. But I do want some kind of huddle room for people I tell this all the time, I like for people to think and have new ideas. So I want to have that and inspire that, which is totally counterintuitive to most accounting firms who are beating billable hours into you. But I want to have a place where you can, all right, let's have a 5-minute meeting. Let's just jump in here real quick, put it on the screen, stand up, just something different. So I do think.
Are you keeping track of time at all?
We are. Yeah, we do. We've probably moved, I'm trying to think how much, most of our stuff is either fixed fee, value build, or fixed on a monthly retainer. So it's not that much that we bill by.
We know that. I love to hear why.
So why are you keeping track of time?
Why are we keeping track of time?
Because Marcus, I've changed my tone on time.
Yeah. I would tell you this. I would tell you why we're keeping right now. It's because we do not have every project front estimated and quoted up front. And for one thing, for me, is to keep the out of scope work. So we have not, as a firm, I know it's one thing we've got to fix. And I was thinking about this today. We've got to get to a point where we are clearly communicating on every engagement, but it's hard when you get just clients to just say, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. How to do that in such a way that we wouldn't need a timesheet. We hadn't figured it out yet. And I know other firms have and don't keep time. But for us, the first thing's out of scope.
There may be fewer than
I don't
you
think there's any firm other than us that doesn't keep track of time. And Scott does too.
No, there's a lot.
No, not anymore. All the ones that you might think, they're all tracking time again. They all gave it up for 3 years and then just picked it back up like a bat. All of them did.
Really?
They all went back. I swear, everybody
I'm never going back, Marcus.
Everybody I thought wouldn't.
Well,
track
so let me
time.
ask you, how are you guys tracking the out of scope stuff?
It's pretty
Dude,
easy.
I am gonna start tracking time. I feel like I am.
Don't you know when something's out of scope, and you only have 3 other people in your office, so it's pretty easy to know. Yeah. It's just so are you scared to tell the client up front and you just send them a bill? What's stopping you from?
No, I think what's stopping me is just the organic nature of how things happen. Us being super disciplined and organized when a request comes in to be like, all right, stop. We have to run you through this.
If you got rid of the timesheet, it would force you to do it because then you'd have to do it up front. Now you have the crutch of the timesheet to.
That's a good point, though.
I'll step in, though. I don't care if people are going out of scope or keeping up with scope or going back to a client and say, look, we're going to have to bill you for this, all that shit. No, all that's in the past. I need the time to know everybody's capacity so we can plan and so we can give them some extra padding when we have to onboard a new client. When we got a ton of back work, when it's going to take some oversight, when we're doing training, we need to know when they can handle that and about how long it's going to take. Because right now, we have no clue how long things are going to take. We just have, I think we're going to keep time in order to predict as a lead. We're going to use time as a leading indicator. It's a lag. It took him a long time to go to this, and I'm with him. I don't want to track time, and I could flip flop on it every single day. But
you were adamant 6 months ago.
I was adamant 6 days ago. I was adamant 6 hours ago. It doesn't matter. I keep flip flopping on it because I don't think there's a right answer. There really isn't. And everybody says your staff's going to hate. No, there is. Everybody says your staff's going to hate it, but there's a lot of staff teams. Everybody says you can't call them staff either. You can call them staff or teams, whatever it is. You're dealing with individuals. They're people. Okay. And they have lives too. And if they need to know what their capacity is, it's not that big of a deal to say, I worked on this for an hour. I'm not saying give me every 5 minutes of everything you're doing. No. I'm saying if you did 3 things today, give me the time on those. I don't give a shit about anything else you did. I don't care about how much time you spent on emails or this or bullshit, but these 3 things you did, let's get the time on that. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, I could see
that will open up Carbon a whole
Marcus, I think it would be so easy for you to get rid of it.
For the reason you're using it, Marcus, you do not need time.
Think how much time you'd save not keeping track of time. And then you could just, when something's out of scope, that's the easiest thing to know.
Yeah,
I'm with Ackerman on this.
So let me ask you guys a question. When it is out of scope, what's your procedure? Employer retention credits, perfect example. That's nowhere in your Are you guys reaching out to people?
An engagement letter for it. You tell them this is an opportunity here. Here's our engagement letter to sign. Oh, and here's a fee that you're going to have to pay. And they got one. They got an engagement letter for the PPP, and it said $0. So they can appreciate the engagement letter. And then they know, okay, I get it. They're going to have to charge me for this. So that PPP opened up a ton of doors by us giving them $0 invoices for them to sign the engagement letter for us to do that. It showed the value of what we did. So
how does that show the value of what you did if it's $0? That makes no sense.
Because the next time we do, they know we did that, and
that means you did it for free. That's literally the exact opposite of what we've been talking about the whole time.
For free too. We were very clear that this is an uncertain time. And
we literally just talked about that you had to charge for implementation, charge for stuff you do because it's worth your time.
This is work that's out of scope that we normally would charge you for, but we're not because everybody's in this together right now. That's what I would say. And I feel like everybody should have done. I don't think you charged any of your clients.
Yeah, we did.
Maybe you charged
everyone because the people who need this employee retention credit, they don't actually need it. If it was a client who actually needed the PPP money to survive, that would have been something different. And we did have some of those that if they really needed it. But you're also running a business. You can't do stuff for free.
I will tell you this too. If we're getting here under the hood, part of why we're keeping track of time on the auto scope stuff is because I know right now it's going to fall on me to always be to building those proposals and that sort of thing.
So easy because if you, for the ERC, you be, hey, we're going to charge you $500. I'm just making up a number, $500 just to see if you qualify.
Yeah.
And then if you qualify, then it's a little more work. So we're going to charge you $5,000 or whatever. You're going to get back $200,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can do a percentage of what you get back or whatever.
I don't think you can. I don't think because it's it's one of those things that's considered a contingent fee, but that's all.
But you could.
You could.
Yes, they're going to get 200 back, so you're going to charge them 10,000. Whatever. It's you can do it that way, and I don't think you'll have a client that will not do that.
But see, they know the scope. Your client knows the scope, and your team should know the scope. If you're using Practice Ignition, they should know the scope. If you're using CARP, I don't know how team works.
And you have
this is almost like an intervention.
Well, you also have to just be okay.
I think it is.
You have to be okay with you're not going to make money on everything. Sometimes you're going to lose. It's okay.
Oh,
the amount of money you're saving by not keeping track of time is way more than the amount of money you're going to lose on this out of scope.
No, I will tell you, and it's one of those things where I don't think it's wrong what you're saying, or that I wouldn't do it in 6 months. For me, it was one of those things that it was not willing to tackle right away. It's not like you have your first, second tier issues.
Well, and that's very important. You can't do everything at once. And yeah, I think you have a plan. It sounds like you have a couple year plan on what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
There
I'm
isn't
telling
an
you,
intervention
I
because
sound like a no.
no, Marcus.
You got to
found
be
a
able to
weak
change
spot.
stuff too. I think what's also great, what you've done is, and what's very similar to us is you're very client focused. Everything you've done is to make the client experience better.
Yeah.
These videos, this team, making
Total
it easy
control
for them to
accounting.
pay.
Can we talk about that just a little bit? That's so awesome. I just love the concept of it and everything.
Tyler came up with that. He came up with the terminology. Yeah, basically all that means is just get people from, I say this all the time, these people that say, this weekend I'm doing my taxes. For a small business, what that means is I'm doing all the transactions, reconciling everything to hand it to you to just tell me how much we made or lost, and I have no clue. So for us, it was foundational. We have 9 steps in it, but the first rung of it is clean up, collaborate, consistency. If you can nail those things and get to that next level, which is then when you start to get data that's repeatable and you've got it organized and you can manage it, and now you can start to predict and make decisions. If most people could just get out of that phase, get their crap in order, that's the cleanup. Get it in order so you can then move forward to do. Normally that is because there's something imminent. I got to get my accounting done to do the tax. Okay, let's do that. Then let's get it consistent. Somebody at your office or mine, and it's in a collaborative software. So that's the first rung. If you can get that, you're getting consistent, and you have somebody like us or you guys, your team's watching over that, and there's an engagement where we just pop in monthly or quarterly and help you either fix or do better. Once you get that nailed, you can move to that next phase, which is where the good stuff happens, which is your meeting. You can take advantage of opportunities that come. You're starting to figure out your KPIs. What does that mean? What are the things that really drive our business? What are the things that don't make sense? So that's what we're trying to do with Total Control Accounting System, is get people to use their accounting in such a way that it helps their business. And all kinds of things come from that. We might say, man, in that first step, getting you cleaned up is getting you super organized, get you off spreadsheet invoicing, get you into one software. It's simple stuff to us, but it's really just getting people to where they can take their accounting, use it as a tool to run their business better and meet their goals, whether that's make more money, whether that's be home more because they got a way better system now. They can be at the soccer game and know that if something comes up, they got their phone right there. They can handle everything there. That's the goal of it.
If the listeners could see, they can hear it in your voice, but you're so excited about all this too. And this is you talking about the clients, and you just keep elevating and elevating when you're talking about things. And it's very encouraging,
So when you moved over from the other firm, what did you do with the clients that you knew weren't going to be on board with this?
We didn't really assume that any wouldn't. So look, at the beginning of this year, we did send out a letter to probably 20 clients, say, look, we're just not going to do your tax return this year. We don't think you're a good fit. But most people, we've said, let's throw out the proposals and see what happens. I remember that meeting when we said, we're going to send this out, and I said, guys, just be prepared to lose a bunch of clients. Who knows? We're going up on all their fees. We're bringing them through. What I would say from the client perception is jumping through some hoops, and really it's not. But it's, hey, watch this video, click this link. It's getting people out of their comfort zone. We've had so we let go of, 20? It might have been 15. I can't remember. And then of the others, we might have had 5 to 7 just say, no, this is not right for me. Everybody else, I'm not to say everybody else, but the feedback I'm getting is that people are really liking it. Data's in one place. The communication's there. We're explaining things, and they're willing to pay for it.
I love it. Yeah, I think a lot of firms are just scared because I'm going to lose all my clients, but
you don't.
Yeah,
no.
You lose.
But again, I've learned this from talking to you and Scott. Okay, so let's think of the worst case scenario. You lose 20% of your clients, but your revenue stays. Now you've just gotten more efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you gain time.
No, so I just don't know how you lose. You either do right or you learn, but there's no losing.
You learn by your clients too, because they're going to respect that. They know you're thinning.
I also you have to stop being these accountants who are just so not confident. You have to step back and go, who wants to work with somebody that doesn't know how to run their business? A client that doesn't know how to run their business. If you have your stuff together, you're going to attract people that also have their stuff together or want to get their stuff together.
There's a key difference between somebody who wants to but doesn't do shit that pays you a lot of money. Those are usually the best clients, the
Yeah.
ones that really want to. They're the highest maintenance, but they are the best.
Or option 3. They don't want to get it together, but they're willing to pay you to have it all together.
Yep.
Whatever that is. So I just thought, man, we're going to lose some clients, and I know that's going to happen, but I think we're going to be better for it. And I will tell you, Stephanie came to my office, and she doesn't do tax. So she's all of our accounting, a lot of our payroll stuff, manages our firm, has started to learn Gusto and Zero, where she does a lot of setups. She came to me, she goes, tax season is going great, huh? And she was, look, I'm not doing any tax returns, but I can just tell from y'all. She's like, processes. I said, Stephanie, it's not rocket science, and I don't have these great ideas. We just put a system in place and we stuck to it, and we will tweak the system.
That is rocket science for some people, though. It is great.
Yeah.
Some people they can't get it in their head that they're so busy. How can we take a whole day to spend creating a system? We already have systems. Everybody's in denial about their systems.
Oh yeah.
You can always rethink your systems every year.
And you should. You always need to be, what does Mark Cuban say? How could I kick my own ass? You always have to be thinking, why would a client want to work with us? Or better yet, why would they leave us? There's things right now.
Not giving somebody, I thought I made this up, but I probably heard it somewhere. If you're not giving somebody a reason to stay, then you're showing them the door.
Correct. Yeah, you just giving them, they may stay with you because of convenience or whatever, but I want people that rave about us. I say we're not perfect, but man, these guys, I think the biggest thing you guys are mentioning, I seem excited or whatever, but I think the biggest thing our clients are seeing is that we're trying. It's not, if you leave us, it's not for lack of effort. We try to keep you organized. We try to give you convenience. We try to explain things, and we try to do it in a transparent way. So
Marcus,
we don't always get that, but it's not for lack of effort.
I've never seen a client complain about Ackerman. Everybody they complain about are the people we always hear about too. They never pick up my calls, or they never answer me, and they don't give a shit about this, or they just like surprise me with this, or they're doubling down on this lie, or whatever it is. It's all bullshit. But there's a ton of them out there, but that's why these people are leaving them. They're having real reasons to leave. If you're doing right by your clients and you're being honest, transparent, they know we make mistakes, but they know that if you're going to raise your prices, they should be respecting that too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel very adamant about that if you're trying to do right by them and you're client focused and client centric, I don't think your team could do any wrong either. Yeah.
And I hope from us, one thing I'm trying to do is with all of our marketing and anything we do is I'm also trying to create a place where the best people want to work. So we talk a lot about client centered, but I think when you're client centered, if you're trying to be client centered, it means you're trying to be efficient. You're trying to adapt technology. You're trying to do all the right things. I think the right people gravitate to that.
Oh, you get that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't even talked about that. I'm also trying to build a place from our brand, and the output is to get people, to get the best people.
The next time we're on, that's the topic, because that's the next step.
Yeah.
That's a good place to end there. It's all about people either way.
Oh, no doubt.
It's not about these pilots or benches. It's about people.
Yeah, that's
beautiful. That's beautiful. Marcus, this has been a pleasure and an honor. So tell us how we listen to the podcast and all this stuff.
Yeah, so you can find, it's called the Make Account Podcast with Marcus Mire, which is Mire, spelled Scott said. Everybody but a sliver of South Louisiana would say Mire. Yep, you say you're like a Cajun now. So you're honorary Cajun. Wait, hold on a second. I gotta show y'all something.
Oh, I want to see it.
This is great podcast.
I don't know. I do feel like a Cajun though. I've been talking to Amanda a lot. I got one of my teams from Louisiana, and now we got Marcus on. This is Cajun week tonight.
Oh, look.
Oh, nice.
Was that fitted? Is that a golf hat?
Oh yeah.
All right, for all of our listeners, for anybody
this is great. This makes great radio, huh?
I'm saying this. Anybody that acknowledges they're listening,
because you mailed a bunch of people shit and you never gave me anything.
I gave you a koozie.
Yeah,
let's think about our listeners here. For every listener that acknowledges they are listening, they're gonna get a free Mire Group hat.
There you go.
Sent personally by me.
All right, so yeah,
signed by Marcus. Signed by Marcus.
Yeah, I'm not complaining to that.
All right, so you find me on.
I want one. I'm gonna reach out so I can get one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where you podcast on the Apple and I guess Spotify it's on, and then find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Marcus is on LinkedIn. He's
Marcus, you're a mensch. Thank you.
All right, fellas, enjoyed it.
Marcus is our competitor now that he has his own podcast.
Dude, I'm like us to market. I'm not. I'm like you guys are too much R&D.
See, the thing is
We
though,
need a lot more R&D.